Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka the guy who's going to take you through the Alpha and Omega of Star Wars The Bad Batch Episode 2. Throughout this video, we'll be recapping the plot, pointing out the Easter eggs and things you missed, as well as giving our theories on where the show might be going in the future. Full spoilers ahead, so if you haven't had a chance to check it out yet, then I highly recommend that you check out now. As always, if you like the video, you will click the thumbs up button and subscribe for breakdowns like this each and every day. You couldn't see there, but I was actually Jedi mind tricking you to do that, so thanks for the thumbs up. Now let's get into The Bad Batch Episode 2. So in this episode, a miracle happened. I actually got a fan theory right. So that cancels out all the 700 we got wrong, and we're now officially the most reliable source of Star Wars nonsense this side of Mos Eisley. Episode 1 ended with the group flying off to meet an old ally, and it turns out it's Lawquane, a clone trooper who deserted his post in order to carve out a life for himself. The episode itself is called Cut and Run, which is not only a nod to Lawquane's first name, but also towards him deserting the army and his home. What's Cut's favourite meal? Dessert. Thank you, I'm here all week now. He very much reflects the Bad Batch and offers a glimmer of hope that it is possible to have a life outside of what they were born and bred for. Now in case you don't know the history, Lawquane was a clone trooper whose transport was attacked after the first Battle of Geonosis. Droids swarmed the area and started to exterminate all those that survived, and Lawquane ended up fleeing in order to live. He deserted his post and instead carved out a life for himself with a Twi'lek called Sue and her children. Rex and Lawquane crossed paths, and the former agreed not to report him, and the character has lived a very peaceful life on the farm since then. Now Rex does get name dropped at one point in the episode, and after the ending of the Clone Wars, there was still a lot of questions up in the air over exactly what it was that was happening with him. It looks like he's still keeping in touch with his old pals, and I think we will likely run into him very shortly on the show. At one point they discussed the inhibitor chip implant, which was a big plot point for the character in the final 4 episodes of the Clone Wars. Also, quick correction for episode 1. Last video I said they were from Batch 99, but they're actually named after the defective clone from Batch 99 who died during the invasion of Kamino. Shoutouts to everyone who pointed that out in the last video. Now we begin with the group in space, and Echo makes it very clear that he doesn't think they should have a child with them. This is something Hunter very much wrestles with throughout the episode, and he goes back and forth over what life's best for her. They arrive at Seleucami and see a Nexu, which you might recognize from the Attack of the Clones. These cat-like creatures possess 4 eyes, 2 of which give them incredible sight, and the other 2 allow them to see in infrared. They roam the area, but are kept out of Lawquane's home by his extremely thin wire fence and booby traps. Now I love Omega in this episode, and I know there's people saying that she's just this show's Grogu, but I think she works really well with the rest of the cast. Because she's never left Kamino, seeing her grab the dirt as she lands is a great thing to witness, and I believe she's very much going to grow into a strong warrior throughout the season. The Clone Wars, Rebels, and Star Wars in general is full of kids who turn into Jedis or sharpshooters, and I can very much see this being the case with her. They make the trek to the farm, and after Wrecker springs a battle droid booby trap, Sue and Cut come into play. Sue is brandishing a cycler rifle, and they take them to their house to explain the situation. Now what I love about this series is that it's showcasing the transition between the Clone Wars and the original trilogy. There was a big grey area in Star Wars lore in which we know that the clones were replaced, but didn't quite see the transition. I think we are seeing very much the mentality of adapt or die, and last episode we witnessed as clones were even turning on other clones, believing themselves to be superior. However, they really aren't, and whilst this conversation was going on, the Empire was talking about discontinuing them. It's very political and laced with the idea that governments will say that they're there for the people, but in reality they're happy to cast them aside once they achieve their goals. The troopers probably would have been better off under the Jedi, but they're led to believe that the change they're now a part of is better, even though we know it leaves them extinct. Now it's at this point they bring Rex up and the inhibitor chip. Hunter is shocked to learn that the free will of the clones can be controlled through this, and I think it's setting the groundwork for the rescue of Crosshair, in which they will remove it from his head. The kids come in and Omega starts a friendship with them, even though they're calling her Omega. And I tell you what, right, I got into a massive argument once with someone in the comments because I pronounced it Boba Fett. They were adamant that you could only ever pronounce it Boba Fett, and I said, look, yeah, a lot of Star Wars names are said differently in the same movie sometimes. They disagreed, And I hope this guy's watching how they pronounce Amiga different ways, crying, because I haven't forgotten yet. I'll never forget! Anyway, Amiga actually has some fun for once, and we learned last week that she was pretty much created to be a medical assistant. We're told that she's a defective clone, but as Cut says, this means that she still has a purpose. Now the Bad Batch themselves were bred to see if there could be different traits within Fett's DNA that could be amplified or changed to make a more adept soldier. It sort of hints towards a theory going around at the moment that Amiga is actually the first attempt at creating a Force-sensitive clone. In The Mandalorian, we of course learned that the Empire were very close to creating one, and though they didn't use the Kaminoans for this, it is possible that they themselves tried to duplicate someone who could use the Force. Now shout out to Ryan Airy at Screen Crush for pointing out that the word Amiga itself means the end, perhaps hinting to her being the final thing that the Kaminoans were aiming towards. Last episode they hinted at waiting until the Empire had revealed their plans before showing their hand, and thus it's clear that she's very different to the typical grunt. At this point, the big twist in Star Wars is that everyone's a clone of Palpatine, and I know a lot of you out there think that Amiga is too. I'm still kind of getting hung up on the accent a bit, and with her sounding similar to the clones, I do think that she's more in line with them. She does have that Palpatine haircut though, however, I think that she will simply be Force sensitive, but not related to anyone we know so far. Anyway, it's at this point that Cut says he's leaving the planet, and that Rex brought with him a warning. The Empire is slowly taking over, and he has to do what's best for his family and get out of Dodge whilst he still can. This makes Hunter wonder about what's best for Amiga, and we cut to the town centre. Here we get a brief look at a land speeder which bears similar colours to Luke's, and Hunter looks even more like Rambo than ever before. I love as the shadow of an Imperial ship flies overhead, and this metaphorically shows the darkness that is starting to seep into the city. We learn that they have been seizing ships, and the Imperial's mode of operation as a whole tends to be to take what they want and destroy all those who resist. Cut plans to find a remote piece of land on a distant planet, and he inquires with an alien called Annalene, who you might recognise as being from the same species as the pod racer rats. She tells them there's a newly implemented galactic policy that means you must have a chain code in order to leave the planet. They are also registering people, something that was forced on the Jewish population in Poland during the Second World War. This means that their inability to leave is limited, and that the population can be controlled by the Empire should they wish to. Amiga goes beyond the perimeter, and the Nexu slowly creeps in to kill her. She's saved by Sue and Hunter, which makes the latter berate her like a soldier. Cut actually treats her like a child, and Hunter further gets it in his mind that she will be safer with him. Also, I love how Wrecker wears a grey poncho with burgundy colouring on it, which is of course not only a style of the Rebels, but also the title screen of the show. Now on the ship, Amiga removes the jewellery from her head. This is something that the cloners wear, showing that she is slowly starting to step away from her past. It's also at this point her hair changes, cementing that she is actually a clone of Luke Skywalker. Now Tech and Echo get the ship, I'm being sarcastic here, by the way. Now Tech and Echo get the ship impounded with them on board, and this takes them to the insides of the Spaceport Detention Center. Unfortunately, Amiga is on the ship at this point, and thus Hunter and co launch a rescue mission. Now we also overhear the troopers saying that the ship is a modified Omicron attack shuttle. Omicron is actually a letter from the Taiwanese alphabet, which was used against the Imperial fleet, showcasing how a lot of the clone trooper designations were brought over to be used by the Imperials. They sneak to a security booth, which you might notice is similar to the one used in Solo: A Star Wars Story. This is the place where the infamous line, Han Solo, that is your new name, mate, so you're calling yourself that from now on, was uttered by a god. The whole chain code thing in general does feel like it lines up massively with that film, and how Han promised Daenerys that they would run away together before Jon Snow could kill her, or something like that, I don't know. I spent most of the year drunk. Anyway, Echo hacks the door using a key rod that is very similar to the one that R2-D2 has. This unlocks the safe with the chain codes inside, and the family travel to the barrier in order to get off-world. Amiga gets caught, and Wrecker saves her, but the shooting starts, and thus the group have to act fast. During these scenes, we get a brief glimpse of a similar droid to 88, who you may recognise from Jabba's palace. We learn that they got an extra chain code for Amiga to have the life she deserves, but as we've seen, the clones share a certain brotherhood, or rather sisterhood, and she decides to go with them. Hunt helps to save his bros as they try and turn off the magnets clamping their ship in place, and Wrecker shows why he's the strongest Avenger once more by pulling it apart with his bare hands. Cut is almost cut by a clone, but because of the chaos caused by the Bad Batch, the troopers are summoned away. Now you can also see them using blue lasers in this battle, which are typically associated with stun, showing that they still have a brotherhood with the clones and don't want to hurt them. They manage to make it off-world, and we cut to Wrecker using a gonk droid as a barbell, and Amiga says that the group are who she wants to be with. Now she's obviously going to have to level up slightly in order to keep up with their crazy shenanigans, and in the trailers there is a shot in which we can see her sporting a bow and arrow. They're going to Katniss her, she's going to be the new Katniss, you just watch. Now I really hope we start seeing some of her training soon, and I think she's going to be a really good character. Now again, this was a great episode and I've loved the first two. I feel like it's going to get better and better, and excuse me for sounding like a noob, but at the moment it seems like more adult animation is starting to get accepted into the mainstream. I know this isn't fully adult animation and it's not as gory or as bloody as Invincible, but it's nice that stories which don't pander to kids are starting to get watched more and more by general audiences. The show deserves it, and hopefully it's going to be something that improves every single week until we get to the plot reveal that it was Palpatine all along. Now obviously I'd love to hear your thoughts on the show, so make sure you comment below and let me know. As a thank you for interacting with the video, you'll be entered into a prize draw on the 30th of May, in which we're giving away 3 copies of the Godzilla vs. Kong collection. All you have to do to be in with a chance of winning is like the video, make sure you subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment below with your thoughts on the episode. The winners of last month's competition are on screen right now, so if that's you, then message me on Twitter at HeavySpoilers. If you want something else to watch, then make sure you check out our breakdown of the first episode, which will be linked on screen right now. We've gone over the entire thing just like this one, pointed out some of the Easter eggs, made some mistakes about it being batch 99, and just generally had a bit of a laugh. With that out of the way, thank you for sitting through the video. I've been Paul, I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.